The Carolina Hurricanes drop a second game in a row, 4-2 to the New York Rangers on Thanksgiving Eve. Despite losing, there are some things to be thankful for in this game for the Carolina Hurricanes in some aspects. We hear from Sebastian Aho and Rod Brind'Amour postgame. We'll talk about all of that here on a Thursday Thanksgiving edition of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Thanksgiving edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network. I'm your host, Zach Martin, the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Hours, also the co-host of the Search Casters, a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. On the Thursday edition of the show, like I said, we're going to recap the Hurricanes' 4-2 loss to the New York Rangers. Despite the loss, there were some positives to take away in the game overall, but we're also going to hear from Sebastian Aho and Rod Brind'Amour post-game after the loss. So the Hurricanes, like I said, lost 4-2 to the Rangers, despite the fact that they outshot them 38-18. 13-4 in the first, 11-9 in the second, and 14-5 in the third. Even the power play went 1 for 4 in the game. The PK went 1 for 1. They limited the Rangers' chances. They scored a power play goal. Unfortunately, they did get out hit 34-16. Rangers had 20 blocked shots. It's just one of those things where, unfortunately, you kind of wish you had that game, but in the end, once again, it was costly turnovers that kind of hurt the Hurricanes a little bit, had to try to catch up from behind. Late goal in the second period to put the Rangers up, and then then it was a goal early on in the third that kind of really made it go from a 1-1 game to a 3-1 game pretty fast. And while the Hurricanes did get back within one, it just wasn't really enough. And Igor Shesterkin kind of just, stood on his head and kind of played a great game against the Hurricanes. Gotta give him some credit. I mean, 947 save percentage, 36 of 38 saves. That's what you really got out of this one. In terms of the Hurricanes, I mean, yeah, you had some multi-point nights from Sebastian Aho and Shayne Gostisbehere, but, Gostisbehere -3, Sebastian Aho, -1, Seth Jarvis -2, Andrei Svechnikov -2. And then Freddie Anderson, an .824 save percentage, stopping 14 of 17 shots. And now that really puts him in a more of a deficit, I would say. 5-6-2 on the season, a .307 goals against, and an .878 save percentage. Not the greatest of runs for Freddie as of late. I mean, you're talking ever since the Nashville game on the 11th, you're talking 3 goals, 4 goals, 3 goals, 3 goals, 3 goals. Save percentages, .889, .826, .842, .850, .824. In his last 5 starts, you're talking he's 0-3-2 for Freddie. Overtime loss, shootout loss, and then 3 regulation losses. Freddie is just not on a great run right now for the Carolina Hurricanes. And I would say maybe there's 1 or 2 goals that you wish he had back, but also, too, it's the costly turnovers that we've seen over the last couple weeks where errant passes, they're giving the opponents a lot of chances and they're burying them. And that's kind of unfortunate is what happened to the Hurricanes when, you got, Noah Laba scoring a goal. You got Artemi Panarin late in the second period, putting the Rangers back up 2-1. You give a late goal there, and then you got Vincent Trocheck scoring 45 seconds into the third period on an opportunity from Panarin, and he just got a chance to bury it. And then, nothing you can really do with an empty netter, but that's just kind of what you're looking at right now is, you're scoring goals. You play 10, 20 minutes of great hockey, but then, other times you're not really playing the greatest. I mean, at one point, the Hurricanes were out shooting the Rangers like 11-1. Like, it took the Rangers a good 8-9 minutes to put a put a shot on net and come away, you're down 1-0 on like the third shot of the game. It's 1-1 and they give them a late one. They have 2 goals essentially on 4 shots. It was 1-0 after 1. Okay. But then, it's just not great. It's just not great overall when you look at how this game was. You get Shayne Gostisbehere scoring a goal. That's back-to-back games of the goal from Gostisbehere, and it's on the power play. So the power play is at least doing moderately well, where you're going 1 for 4, but you score 2 power play goals in 2 games in a row. And Gostisbehere scored the last 2 Hurricanes goals before Seth Jarvis did. Seth Jarvis scores his 12th of the season. Tough angle shot, but he buried it. You'll gladly take that. And that was, Gostisbehere getting his second point of the game and Sebastian Aho getting his second point of the game. Ehlers gotten a secondary assist on the Gostisbehere goal. But that was kind of it. And unfortunately, the Hurricanes didn't get a win. Doesn't add to their impressive stat of having, 80-plus wins and, losses and overtime losses when Seth Jarvis scores a regular season goal. Now it's just 1 more to the loss total. But like I said, there's kind of your silver linings. Seth Jarvis is still doing his thing. Shayne Gostisbehere scoring back-to-back games, both on the power play. Now he's on 3. He's got 3 goals on the season, and now that's 15 points in 14 games for Ghosts. So when Gostisbehere is in the lineup, he plays fantastic for the Hurricanes. He's over a point per game guy for the Kings when he's actually playing, which is great to have. So hopefully he's not out again, because he's already been out twice for the Canes this year. And when he's in the lineup, he's producing. So you'll gladly take that if you're Carolina when he's in. But just overall, it's not the greatest of runs as of late for the Canes. If you look back to the 4-game road trip, you're talking 2-1-1. You count this game, you're 2-2-1 in your last 5. So it's not terrible. You are playing 500 hockey as of right now. And it doesn't help when you still have, Jesperi Kotkaniemi's out. Jacob Slavin's still out. We don't know when he's going to come back. Sounds like he's still away. Pierre Kachekov is hurt once again. It seems like it's the same injury that kept him out earlier this year, so hopefully he's not out for too long. And then you got an illness spreading through the locker room. You got Jordan Staal out and missed his 2nd game in a row, and sounds like some other guys might be battling through some flu, so you're having to call up Justin Robidoux to be an extra player, and he slotted. And I thought he did pretty okay. Started the game 3rd-line center, finished as a 4th-line center. You do get, Kendra Miller back after he got, banged up in the Sabres game. You got Jalen Chatfield back. You had Nikisha with Nystrom. They played okay. It's just right now the team is battling through some adversities. You're still 14-7-2. Unfortunately, New Jersey did win, on Wednesday nights. Now they're 1 point ahead of the Hurricanes in the standings, in terms of the Metro Division. But, and by American Thanksgiving, you're still 1 point back in the Metro. You're the 2nd best team in the Eastern Conference. You're still in the top 5 of the entire NHL. So you're still in a good spot. It's good the fact that they've won a lot of games to kind of give them that cushion like we saw last year. Hopefully it's not just this delayed inevitable of having a weird November and December like we saw last year. I don't think it's going to be. It's just unfortunately injuries. Now with illnesses on top of that, it's not really helping the Hurricanes out a whole lot, because now they're kind of having to deal with all of that. So all in all, silver linings. If there are some things to be thankful for, since this is the 3rd Thanksgiving episode of Locked On Hurricanes, power play is kind of rolling now, back-to-back games. Shayne Gostisbehere is rolling, 2 goals in 2 games, both on the power play. Seth Jarvis is still scoring. Jackson Blake looked very noticeable in this game. Justin Robidoux looks pretty good as well. Sebastian Aho, multi-point night. Ehlers is still kind of rolling too. He's getting his points as well. It's, you kind of wish you had a little bit more out of it, but like I said, it stinks to lose, especially to the Rangers going into Thanksgiving. But hey, gotta give those guys credit. Unfortunately, they took the opportunities when they did. 4 goals on 18 shots. They made it work. And unfortunately, the Hurricanes press just couldn't figure out Igor Shesterkin, got a couple past him, but it just wasn't enough. But like I said, second in the Metro, second in the East. You're still top 5 in the NHL. That's what you can definitely be thankful for as we roll into American Thanksgiving. Now, what did Sebastian Aho say after the game? We'll stick around. We'll listen and react to it here in a second on a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com and to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. All right, so we kind of recapped and went over the Hurricanes 4-2 loss to the Rangers, trying to find the silver linings, what the team is kind of struggling with. But what did Sebastian Aho say after the game? Well, let's jump into that and listen to that right now.
Sebastian, obviously a strong push there at the end of the game. What do you feel this one ultimately came down to?
Yeah, I mean, hard-fought game, 2 good teams going at it. I mean, both teams had their looks, and obviously they were able to squeeze a win here. But yeah, the effort was definitely better than the last game for us. So, obviously, I mean, kind of couple errors here and there kind of cost us, but other than that, I mean, the way we play was a step to the right direction.
Do you feel like you guys needed to get more out of that second period, especially on the multiple power plays in a row?
I mean, there was still one shot game, 1 goal game at going in the third, and I mean, we got one on the power and all that. So I mean, we like to score in every power and every shift, but I think we were not in a horrible spot going in the third.
The end of the period goals, are those as tough as everyone makes them out to be when you give one up?
Sure. I mean, yeah, obviously that probably gives a little bit of momentum on the team who scores, but like I said, it wasn't. I think we were in okay spot to go in third, and especially like mentally, like we knew we were right there, and obviously, gave up a goal there early, so that didn't help. But we kept pushing, but came out short this time. But obviously, like I said, effort was definitely better.
Is there a little momentum on the power play now? Goals in 3 straight. Do you feel like that's pointed in the right direction, maybe?
Sure, but like we lost the last 2 games, so it doesn't. Like to me, you either win or lose, and whether it's you lose because of special teams or you win because of big, it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, just you play for the win of the game, and obviously probably helps to get a little bit of confidence if you score and stuff like that. But like I said, it's trying to win a hockey game, and that's special teams are part of it, but it's not all of it.
Thank you to Sebastian Aho and the Carolina Hurricanes as always. And you heard it from him. It's the effort was there. I would agree the effort was there in this game. It's just it wasn't the prettiest 60 minutes from the Hurricanes. There were definitely some times where like, okay, you had these opportunities on the power play. You got one, but kind of wish you had a little bit more. Yeah, you outshot the Rangers, but at the same time, it was very disjointed in a lot part of the game too. So yeah, you can see the effort was there, but I wouldn't say it wasn't strung a lot. There were definitely some times where the Rangers kind of really neutralized the Hurricanes in the neutral zone. So it's kind of tough to say that, yeah, like there was effort, but you kind of feel like there were some other points in the game where you kind of wish there was a little bit more urgency in some areas. And it stings when you give up a late period goal in the second, and then you give up an early one in the third. You kind of buried yourself in a, 3-1 hole early in the third period where you kind of had to score 2 and you get one back. But at that point, half of the period's over. Now you're really having to push. So, they asked like, hey, the power play is trending in the right direction. 3 straight games of the power play goal. Ghost has gotten the last 2. Is that a good thing? And, you heard from Aho. He's like, I mean, yeah, it's great, but you're not winning games. It doesn't really matter. It's about getting the wins. And yeah, it makes sense. And I agree with him. It's like, it matters to win, because that's all it really matters right now. Is like the moral victories aren't going to get you points in the NHL. You want to win games. Now, it's still good to talk about, hey, the power play's kind of figured itself out a little bit. It seems like maybe that's on the upward trend, where that was kind of been a struggle for the most part this season. Now you've got 3 straight games of the power play goal. Now you're kind of maybe seeing, maybe you're going in the right direction. You figured something out. So I agree. Like, you should at least be like, okay, yeah, it's good so far. It's kind of helping out. But right now it's the unfortunate, turnovers that are leading to breakaway goals or odd man rushes for the opponents. And it's been a thing over the last couple of weeks. So I would say, like, you don't want to rest on moral victories, but it's good to kind of have them a little bit, just to be able to be like, okay, at least we're seeing a trend in the right direction. Now it's just kind of trying to figure everything else out, because right now the Hurricanes goal scoring, they've scored 3 goals in the last 2 games. I mean, it's not the greatest, but at least you're kind of putting yourself into a spot to where, yeah, the scoring isn't there, but at least you're kind of doing it on the special teams where, the Hurricanes are more of a 5-on-5 team, but right now it's the power play has been kind of the bigger help. So there are some good and some bads from looking at, okay, there are some trends that are going up, but you're not winning games. So now it's just trying to figure out stringing it together. Can you win games like you really need to, and also make sure your power play is clicking? Like, we're not saying you have to score every game on the power play. It'd be nice if you did, but that's not the thing where it's like you have to score a power play goal every game. But if you get the opportunities, at least try to get, at least 1 or 2 every couple of games, just at least that way you're kind of boosting your totals up, and you kind of figured it out. But we all know at the same time, you got to win games, and right now you're 2-2-1 in your last 5, but you're only a point out of the division lead of the Metro. So it's just kind of going from there and just trying to bring all of it together. It's just unfortunate right now, just the turnovers, defensive breakdowns, goaltending outside of Bussy and Kochekov, it hasn't really been the greatest. I mean, it's not completely all on the goaltending, but I think it's a combination of just the defense kind of breaking down a little bit and also not getting the saves that you really need, because it's easy to blame the goalies for everything, and then you want to praise them when everything is good, which they deserve the praise when they win. But also, too, there are some goals that you can't save if certain guys are hitting it up or 90 or going crossbar or down. There's nothing you can do about that. You just got to give the guy credit for a great shot, but also you do need saves. So it's a culmination of just a lot of things that are just not going in the right direction for the Hurricanes in terms of turnovers, defensive breakdowns, not getting the saves that you really need. Some games you're seeing some effort. Some games you're kind of seeing maybe efforts for a period or 2 or a period and a half. It just really depends. And right now the Hurricanes are still in a good spot, but you kind of want to see the power play that is clicking now, but also the 5-on-5 working together and kind of bringing it all together. Because right now it's either one is doing really well, like 5-on-5 and PK, and maybe goaltending hasn't been that great and the power play is struggling. And then you have the power play that's playing well. PK went 1-for-1, but then your 5-on-5 play wasn't the best, and goaltending is still an issue, or the goaltending is great, but you're not scoring. Now it's just trying to find a way to combine all of these aspects together and kind of move on from there. So in terms of that, like, the Hurricanes are still in a good spot, and like and from what Aho said, it's like, yeah, it's okay that the power play is going, but you want to win games. That's what matters the most. And I agree. It's all about winning the games, but right now for the Canes, it's just having all aspects of your game working at the same time. And the team still isn't fully healthy. Like, we're still, like, guys are sick, guys are battling through injuries, guys are battling through the illness too. You're still without Jacob Slavin, who's your best defenseman and probably the best defensive defenseman in the NHL. You haven't had him now for 21 games. Now you're really ready to have him back at some point soon. And hopefully goaltending gets figured out, because with Kochekov out, you're down to Anderson and Bussy. And right now, Bussy has played better than Anderson, and hopefully Freddie kind of figures it out, because it's just not a great start for him right now. 5-6-2. He's above a 3 goals against average, and his save percentage is going down. So hopefully all that gets figured out. But we'll see. Take the day off on Thanksgiving, do the morning skate, all that stuff, and then get ready for Friday against the Jets. So we heard from Sebastian Aho, but what did Rod Brind'Amour say after the game? Stick around, and we'll listen and react to it here in a second on a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. let's be honest. Most of us can't even name our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments is easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why you should use Monarch. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where your money is going and how to make it work harder for you. So don't let the financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. All right, we heard from Sebastian Aho, but what did Rod Brind'Amour say after the game following the Hurricanes' 4-2 loss on the Rangers? Well, we'll listen to that right now and react to it after.
Rod, they just kind of feel like one of those nights where goaltender on the other side is just making all the saves.
Yeah, that's what kind of summed up. That's basically what it is. We played really well, played hard, made a couple mistakes. D-zone face-off there a minute to go. We blew the coverage, and that can't do that against that line. And then kind of just took a little breather in the third one, right? Like 1-on-3, we just kind of back in, and then all of a sudden, again, you're giving the best players time, and that's not what we do. And that ended up in the net, and that's kind of the game, right? And we couldn't outscore the couple of mistakes we made.
Every goalie has goals he wants to get back, but does it feel a little like this year Freddie's been a little bit of a hard luck loser? Like it seems like whether it's the other goalie playing well or
yeah, I mean he was fine. I mean you can't fault him on the goals or anything, but we didn't give up a ton, and it's just we got to find ways to obviously not give up those couple of little ones, but that's going to happen. Clearly we needed to score on some of our chances. Like we can't have that many opportunities and not come away with more than what we did.
I was going to say that probably that second period, that stretch with the power plays, you probably needed more out of that stretch.
Yeah, but the power play was great. I'm not going to try to throw shade on that. Even at the end, I don't know how many saves and chances we had. It was did everything you're supposed to do. You just got to find ways to put it in the back of the net.
Like you were referencing a moment ago, you're getting your chances, you're getting the ski under his head, it's just not going in right now. How do you balance the understanding that every team goes through that over the course of the year while still trying to keep the spirits high, if you will?
Yeah, of this stretch of games, we had one poor game. That's it. Unfortunately, we haven't really got what we probably deserved out of it with points-wise. So that's tough. You got to win games. So it's going to be always about the details. Which shift going to matter? Like it doesn't. You can have 10 good shifts, but it's that one that you kind of let up. That's the one that costs you the game. So we have to eliminate those. And we were in one tonight with no Jordo. That's a big loss for us. It sets our team up a little differently. So, but you got injuries, you got to deal with them.
How did you feel like Robin outplayed it?
Yeah, he's fine. He just made some nice plays, and he knows the system and he knows where to be. I thought he did good.
Are you encouraged 3 games in a row with a power play goal, at least to get that maybe pointed?
That's been good. It's been good for a while. It just hasn't, it doesn't get probably what it should. We hit, I think Special had a couple of great looks tonight. I think he hit the post at the end too. It's like you're all around it. You deserve probably a little more out of when we're playing well, and then you're going to go through stretches where it doesn't go well. But when it's going, you need to cash in a little more, and that's probably where we haven't succeeded.
Big thank you to Rod Brind'Amour and the Carolina Hurricanes as always, and interesting quotes from Rod talking about how you can't really fault Freddie for some of the goals. He didn't give up a lot, but you kind of also want to get saves. And I understand, Rod isn't going to, throw shade or bury guys under the bus, and rightfully so. He's, he is who he is for a reason, and, he's going to take care of his guys, but it's just one of those things where you kind of wish you had some there. And like I said, it's not all on the goalies because it's easy to blame them. There were some defensive lapses, the Panarin goal, blown coverage, should never had the opportunity to score there, and they did. Turnovers once again cost them, and I think it's just an overall defense right now is kind of struggling a little bit. The not having your full strength is kind of showing a little bit, and unfortunately it just didn't really work out. But he is pretty happy in the fact that the power play is kind of rolling now. Like I said, 3 power play goals in a row in terms of games. So there is some good to take away from it. But overall, it's just, yeah, they were in it, but unfortunately it's, cost the goals late in a period, early in a period, kind of puts you in a bind, and then it's just Shesterkin stone on his head, made a lot of saves that he needed to, and the Hurricanes just end up on the wrong side of a loss that you kind of feel like they wish you got the win on, but it just didn't really work out that way. And like I said, it's just turnovers and defensive lapses are kind of killing this team right now, and unfortunately, you're not really getting the saves that you really need. So it's just trying to bounce back from that and see what happens now. But overall, I mean, it's a game that stinks. It's a game you don't really want to lose, but you're still in a good spot overall in terms of where you're at in the standings. But I wouldn't say this is the worst game the Canes have played. We've seen a couple games this year where we're kind of like, okay, that was just a big stinker. But this one is kind of like, you got goalied in the wrong way possible against that team, which you just hate doing that to at home. And just it's the costly turnovers and the costly mistakes that kind of get you. It's just the small moments where the Hurricanes played a good game for the most part, and it's just a couple minutes here and there where it just came and bitch you. And it's just one of those things. But it's in this NHL, it's anyone can beat anyone, and you guys heard me say that a lot over the last 400 something episodes that I've been hosting Locked On. Hurricanes. It's just it's gonna be one of those things where there's games you kind of wish you took, you didn't. You have just to learn and move on from there. You got the morning skate on Thursday, and then it's just spend Thanksgiving with family and the team, and get ready for Winnipeg on Friday because the schedule doesn't stop. It's the second game of a 7-game homestand. Hopefully you get back in the win column, snap this small 2-game skid, and you start picking up points again, right in the ship and moving on from there. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out for the Hurricanes moving forward. Like I said, it's a small skid. It's 2 games, 2-1 in the last 5. It's just one of those things that you just learn from, move on, get ready for the next one, and see what happens from there. But like I said, you guys, Shayne Gostisbehere power play goal in back-to-back games. Seth Jarvis scores again. Multi-point games as well from Aho. And like I said, Gostisbehere, Ehlers gets a point. He's rolling kind of late as well. Guys like Stankoven and Blake were noticeable. Robidoux played really well for the most part, coming back in. So, like I said, there are some things to be thankful for, but there's, things you just got to be like, it is what it is. But, guys, I do want to say I am thankful because this is the Thanksgiving episode of the pod. I am thankful for everyone who has been tuning in since I took over back in April of 24. Can't believe doing over 400 episodes of the show. Definitely enjoying, and thank you to everyone who's commenting, in the comment section on YouTube or, hitting me up on social media. Once you're Zach, just, leaving your thoughts on the Hurricanes, reading all the articles I've been doing over at the Hockey Writers. That's been a lot of fun too. So I am definitely thankful for everyone who's been tuning into the show over the last year and some change. And, it's crazy to think that this upcoming April, where it's going to be 2 years at the helm of this thing. But like I said, I'm just very thankful. Thank you to everyone who's been listening. Hope everyone has a great American Thanksgiving for those who celebrate in the States. I know Canada, everyone who listens from up there have already did their Thanksgiving, but everyone who's celebrating American Thanksgiving, like I said, just thank you to everyone who's been subscribing, commenting, sharing, all that good stuff. It's been a fun run, and hopefully keep this thing rolling for a lot longer, and hopefully get to 500 episodes at the helm. And we're well over 1,100 total as the show, so let's just keep this thing rolling. But thank you to everyone who's been here supporting and all that good stuff. And like I said, hope everyone's a great Thanksgiving, and let's see how everything turns out once we get past it and move on to Friday, and then we get ready for Christmas next month. But this will be the Thanksgiving Thursday episode of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until the Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube, where you listen to your podcast. If you want to keep up with me, I'm a one-share Zach on X. The podcast is LO_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky, the Zachary Martin, where if you click the link to my bios, you can find all of my random content at thehockeywriters.com. I'm putting out a lot of stuff recently, talking about Jordan Staal, Jacob Slavin, and recapping games as well for the Hurricanes. If you want to check out my other podcasts, it's the Search Cast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For Locked On Hurricanes, we're on Spotify, Google, Apple, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to your podcast. Make sure you leave a 5-star rating and review because I might just read it on the show. For YouTube, it's Locked On Hurricanes. Subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumbs up to let me know if you like the show as well. Share with other Caniacs so they become everydayers just like you. But hope everyone enjoyed the Thursday Thanksgiving edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Be thankful to be with family. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes.